Hey guys, part 2, the Located Dick documentary, just as I promised. Less fanfare, more fun. Let's do this. There you go.
Radio at that time was strictly radios, and then as time went on, they sold television sets too. The owner of University Radio also owned Art Music. Art Music, the other store that Herb Hollis owned, was closer to the campus, the university campus, and was all records. And since Philip was mostly interested in the music, after his high school days, he and Hollis had a good relationship, almost a father-son relationship. And Philip was moved up to Art Music, where he knew what he was talking about and was interested in what he was doing, selling music.
And then when he really blossomed out and got to know people when he started working at the record store, just taught him how to deal with people. I always had the feeling he must be working in the basement because he was so afraid of it. But no, he was a good salesman. He liked people. He could pick up girls there.
You know, he was married once before me. It lasted just a few months.
Oh, he told me that story that it was the first girl he slept with and he thought he had her pregnant and that's why he got married. But I didn't believe that because it sounded, too good to be true as a story.
His story about why that marriage broke up was that his wife, Jeanette, who nobody's been able to trace since, I have no idea if she's still alive, or nobody ever heard of her after that in his circle. The story was that Jeanette had a brother who came to visit the apartment, and Philip had a huge record collection, and Jeanette's brother had objections to that, and he didn't think a real man should be that hung up on music, and that Philip felt that the collection was actually threatened, physically threatened, and that's why they broke up. Now, I doubt that was really the whole story, but that's the story he told. He started at the University of California and didn't stay a full semester, and he was virtually self-taught. He loved literature, and he was very interested in psychology, science, and you name it. So he really gave himself a pretty good education, which stood in good stead, I think, later on. And in any case, whatever happened, he dropped out of the university. So here he was, on his own, living in his own apartment by this time, in the middle of a university setting, with university kids coming by all the time, so to the music store. And that was our major connection initially, was through the music. He would recommend things that he thought I would like to hear, and it was a very musical courtship. They had listening booths, which were very private, and we had musical discussions often. But at any rate, it was the music that drew us together. After about a year and a half, we got married, and that's substantially how we got together.
On June 14, 1950, Philip K. Dick married Cleo, his second wife, and together they lived in a modest house at 1126 Francisco Street. It was at this time that Philip decided to become a professional writer. His wife was very supportive, and his marriage created a perfect working environment.
He felt that somebody would buy his stuff. He knew the magazines very well, and he knew he was writing very well. And we both knew that he would be published at some point.
And Phil, at that time, he wrote a lot of short stories, one right after the other, real fast. And they all sold because they were pretty good. Some of them, the very first story he wrote in the science fiction style, sold.
Anthony Boucher was the editor of a magazine of fantasy and science fiction, and he had been publishing stories for years. And Philip sent him some stuff, and he was very encouraging, and in fact bought the first story, the story that they called Friday Morning, which was originally called Roog. Spiffer was an Australian Shepherd, probably at least 8 or 9 years old, and, you know, black and white, beautiful dog. And the dog would run across here. So in Philip's story, there was a dog very much like Spiffer who realized that what people called garbage men were actually Roogs, R-O-O-G, and that's what he was calling. He wasn't just barking. See, he was saying, Roog, Roog. So, and he tries to protect the family from the Roogs. He doesn't know